here with me today,
Yay.
Coach Brian Hammond. Yes, I know you've missed him. So we have some fun stuff to talk about today. But for those of you who are new, I'm Coach Lorri Lown with Team Wilpers. This is Coach Brian Hammond, also with Team Wilpers on opposite sides of the country, coming to you from the United States today. I know. Where are you, Brian?
I am in Vermont.
What's it like in Vermont right now?
Cold and snowy and surprisingly sunny. Like, this has been a very sunny winter in Vermont. Usually by this time in January, I'm like, seasonal depression has like fully set in already.
Yeah.
Because of the lack of the sun. But it's been so sunny all January that I feel pretty good still.
Good.
So
that's
I
good.
think I might make it through the winter.
We've had our false spring here in California. It's cold in the mornings. Don't get me wrong. It's like high 30s, low 40s, which, people think it's always sunny and 70 here. It's not. But starting today, we have another atmospheric river. I love these terms. It's going to rain for a week or so. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully, it's allergen season. We also had some toxicity going on with some fire. So hopefully it dampens it all down and doesn't pollute the ocean too much. But yeah, no more sun for us. I'm sad. I know. Anyways,
Sure.
Hey, everybody who's on here.
I'll come back fast.
I'm going to give you a prompt. I want you to pop into the comments. We're going to talk a little bit about training for life and lifestyle. I want you to give me a couple of ideas of what you're training for. Why do you have the inspiration to get up at 3 a.m. like Maggie Craig or noon like Jeff Heim and train in whatever modality you're training? So we'll talk about that a little bit in just a moment. But speaking of training, what are you training for, Brian? What are your weeks look like these days?
Man, after last year, I was like, I'm going to take a backseat to doing stuff stupid, but of course that never happened.
Stupid stuff? What kind of stupid stuff?
Well, I'm not doing anything crazy super long this year. I'm doing a 12-hour mountain bike race in May that I do every year. So that's probably the stupid long one. But this year I'm trying to get back to like shorter, harder races. Like get back to just having fun and like, the hard part with like big races is you put all your eggs in one basket, like you're just like, you got to show up on that day feeling good. And if it doesn't, outstanding circumstances can affect that. Then you kind of feel like the year was a wash. Like I feel bad for Ironman athletes. Like, it's just like you train for a year for that one day and then you're sick or, it's raining outside.
Or your bike doesn't make it on the plane.
Stuff like that. So like this year I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm trying to refocus back to like having fun racing.
Good.
Fast and different styles. And my goal is to race every bike this year. So my mountain bike, my road bike, my gravel bike, and then I got a couple races with Francesco on the tandem bike. So
nice.
Yeah, just kind of spread it around, have fun.
Yeah.
How about you?
Oh man, if I were to race every bike, it would be kind of interesting because I have a couple that aren't really race bikes. I do have a steel touring bike that's custom that I built for my 50th birthday, which was just yesterday, I think. That I probably should get rid of because I don't ride it anymore. And then I also have an e-grocery getter. Now that would be a fun race. I remember Sea Otter one year did what are the folding bikes out of a Brompton race?
The Brompton. Yeah, that's pretty common. Like crits and stuff. They do like Brompton races. That's
the first year Sea Otter had an e-bike race. Everybody was like, what? And it was a pro e-bike race. They didn't allow any non-professionals to race this event. And it was an e-mountain bike race. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting concept.
There's a world championship. They have an e-mountain biking world championship.
Yeah, but
Peter
this was
Sagan won it
10 years ago.
Yeah.
So this was a long time when e-bikes were just coming out. So what am I training for? Training for gravel, and I'm trying to decide if I'm really inspired for it. I'm kind of struggling with that piece. So it's the fake it till you make it piece right now. I've enjoyed going back to the gym. I feel like I have a lot of unfinished business there as far as getting strong. And I'm spending the time on the bike, but I've got a handful of events and trying to decide where that's going to go. I still have this ultimate goal of maybe winning nationals and going to worlds and qualifying. There's another qualifier event I'm going to do in April and trying to decide if I'm there or if I should just take a year off. And, I don't want to waste this year though. This is the first year of my age group.
Well, the good news The good news is like you can kind of look at this like college. You don't have to declare your major the first year,
I
right?
can
And like
redshirt, right? Isn't that
think
the
of like
term?
our
Redshirting?
training. Usually you come up with these crazy analogies of
I
like,
know.
your everything
The
bagel
bagels.
seasoning. Yeah. But like think about like your training year almost like college, right? Like you're like in the first year is kind of like base training. It doesn't matter what your event is or my event is.
Right.
We're still in the base training phase, which means you and I are working on the same things, even though our racing may be so different. So
Mhm.
the fact that you're not inspired maybe for that goal right now is probably a good thing because that gravel nationals is in September,
September.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like that's so far away. Like, how can you imagine maintaining that motivation,
Right.
excitement for 9 months,
Yeah.
10 months? It's so long. So it's like, yeah, don't worry about it. Just focus on the process of what you're doing now. And then my guess is once you get out and start riding some gravel and
Right.
maybe doing some smaller events, then you're going to be like, oh, yeah, now we're kind of
Yeah.
into it.
I
And
have
that's the
an
kind of
event
my
in
point of like
March.
not putting all those eggs in one basket because
Yeah.
it's a grind. It's so long.
It is. And I ended the season, I think, as we know, kind of burnt out and ready to finish. I mean, by a month out, I was like counting the days until my big race because it is a lot. And it's pretty all consuming. And yes, I've gone out and had a couple of fun rides on the dirt with girlfriends, and it's been good. It's gotten me inspired again. But of course, now it's raining, and I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, anyways. Yeah. And then I think about life a lot. We were talking in our coaching meeting yesterday about what can we do differently and what are we training for? And it brought up a really good question. I know a lot of you have had feedback like, hey, we're not just training for events. We might be training for an event, an indoor event like a Pelofondo or a climb event or whatever. Or maybe we just want to, do some racing on a virtual platform of one sort or another. But a lot of people also train for outdoor events, whether it's, hey, I'm going to run the turkey trot, or I've got this, tour through the Alps that I want to train for. So, but beyond that, thinking about the fitness piece, the lifestyle piece, and I, with this birthday with a zero coming up in a short period of time, think a lot about training for life, training for aging. What can I do better now so I feel better in 10 years? I can still do the things I want in 10 or 20 or 30. So, yeah. So, what do you think about that, Brian? If we think about training for sport versus training for life, how is that different?
I think they're drastically different.
Okay.
Um, when we're training for sport, right? Like I'm training just for cycling and cycling events, doesn't mean I'm healthy,
Yeah, that's very true.
right? Like it means I'm fit. I'm very fit for that task, but doesn't
Mhm.
mean I'm healthy. Like I'm not well balanced. I'm not lifting as much as I should be lifting. Um, so my strength is probably limited. I'm probably not doing the mobility exercises I should
Right.
be doing. I'm not as varied in lateral motions and moving
Mhm.
around. Like there's so many things like, I'm athletic in that bucket of cycling and being able to do this skill and doing the skill efficiently and hard, but I'm not proficient in, going on a hike or
Right.
jumping out of the way of a moving
Gardening.
bus or
How many
gardening.
of you have gone gardening the beginning of the season? Gone gardening, done your gardening, right? Put in your garden, whatever it is, clean the beds, and the next day you're like, oh my god, my hamstrings, they're gonna explode.
Yeah, or your abs from like pulling and like like
Right. Oh
so
yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a big difference. And yes, cycling is going to help my longevity, I
Hmm.
assume, but is it the best way for me to help my longevity? And I would say probably not. Like
Right.
we're doing this in an extreme,
Hmm.
right? Like, I'm cycling 15 hours a week or whatever it might be. Like that's extreme. And there's never good at extremes. You never
Right.
want to be extreme on the positive or extreme on the negative, right? It's always someplace in the middle where it's good. So yeah, I think that there's a big difference between the two.
Hmm. It's funny. For some reason I have a car analogy in my head right now, and I haven't fully formed it, but I'm thinking about, you were talking about training for your sport and how it may not be good for other things. And I'm thinking about some of the cars that I've owned over the years. I bought a Eurovan that already had 250,000 miles on it. Isn't that a silly choice? But it was cheap. And I got 2 years of traveling around and put another 130,000 miles on it. It was really good for certain things like camping, or emptying my wallet.
Uh-oh, we lost her. I'm sure she's going to pop back on. Hopefully she doesn't kick all of us off, but she's having trouble with her headphones, I think. So I'll go on the Eurovan thing here. No. I think the car analogy, though, is a really good thing. It's probably what oh, you're back.
It was weird. I could hear you the whole time. This happened last week too. I'm convinced it's weird. Anyways, go on the car analogy.
No, go for it. You had your Eurovan thing. I was going to pick up on mine.
Did you have a Eurovan?
No, I didn't, but I would love one. Why not?
Well, I've had a Eurovan. I had a Jeep when it was trendy as a car. Oh my goodness, my first car was a Suzuki Samurai. Go figure. That was another good life choice, Lorri. It didn't roll, but man, everybody made fun of me for a while. It was a great choice.
That's like living on the edge, that car.
It was. They were cute. The commercials were cute. Beep, beep. You would drive down the road and everybody would beep, beep at the other.
As long as you don't take a turn at more than like 30 miles an hour, you're probably going to be okay. But
yeah, I know. What else? I've had 3 EVs, and they're great for certain things. They're quiet. That's what I like about my EV. There's no maintenance, which is good because my maintenance, I'll have a to-do list and I just keep pushing it forward. And you still have a Christmas tree up.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
that's awesome. See, pushing it forward, procrastinating. But you have kids. You have minions to take care of those things for you.
Not really. No, the thing is dead as can be. Like it's broken. I will not turn it on. I'm just too lazy to actually take the ornaments off.
Got it. And it's your job.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah. Got it. But anyways, cars are very purpose-built too. I mean, you could say bikes are very purpose-built, but there's, of course, the gravel bike, which will do pretty much anything kind of okay. But yeah, there are very few cars that would do anything. Would you put any car in that bucket?
Like any car that does everything?
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
I mean, that was the idea behind like SUVs and stuff, right? And we're so far off topic right here, but anyway, it's fun. Yeah, no.
But we're on topic, right? So when you train for cycling, you're really good at cycling. But
correct.
A lot of times, like people who cycle will think, "Oh, I can go out and run a race because I have good cardiovascular fitness." But you don't.
Like, here in Vermont, pickup trucks are obviously a big thing, right? Like people love pickup trucks, and my frustration is because I used to live like at an intersection. Pretty busy, and the one stoplight actually in our town. I lived at that corner for my first year here. And nothing bothers me more when I see somebody in a pickup truck try to accelerate fast or drive fast.
Right.
I'm like, well, why did you buy a pickup truck if you want to drive fast?
Yeah.
Right. That's not the choice, right? That's not what it's meant for or the purpose behind it. Like buy a sports car or a little coupe or something, buy an EV car. They're going to pick up and accelerate faster than your pickup truck. Right. Like you bought the pickup truck because you need to haul wood and to haul stuff, or just you want to build up your ego, whatever it is. Like understand why you did that. Right. So that's kind of how I would use the analogy, is like understand why you're picking the workouts you're doing and doing them. Like, are you training for an event? Because how you pick and choose that exercise is different if I'm just trying to be healthy.
Right.
Right. And then what that program looks throughout the week and throughout the year. Like, should I be riding 5 days a week, or should I be riding 3 days a week and lifting 3 days a week, or doing Pilates and yoga and things like that? Or should I be doing this all year long? Or should I be doing like a couple months where I'm focused on cycling and a couple months when I'm focused on weight training and yoga
or weight training or whatever? Yeah,
exactly. Right. And I think that's where it's hard. Like, we're Team Wilpers cycling. Obviously, we're putting out cycling challenges and we love it. We're obsessed with it. But we also have to look at this as a lifestyle.
For life. Yeah.
And most of us that are participating in these challenges, it's a lifestyle. And creating this to be a lifestyle, I think that's the harder part. So I would ask you, is like, what is a healthy lifestyle? Like, what does that balance look like? Or how would you explain it to a friend or a relative?
Well, we need some cardiovascular fitness. Obviously, we want to keep our heart and our lungs strong. And I think if you look at an organization like American College of Sports Medicine, they have their recommendations of what we should do, right? Move your body a little bit every day. Sometimes move it hard. Sometimes move it less hard, right? So we look at 80-20 from that endurance point of view. I'm going to go for walks every day, but maybe one day I'm going to do some intervals. I'm going to jump rope when I come back from my walk or whatever. So cardiovascular fitness, super important. Strength, right? And I think as we age, that's probably one of the most important things, because very few of us in this Peloton world are teenagers or 20-year-olds. We're all past our peak as far as bone density and muscle mass and strength, and now we're trying to maintain. I was listening to a podcast recently, and we think about gains a lot in the Peloton world and how we always want to get better and always want to get better. And one of the comments from a coach was, if you're not getting worse, you're actually getting better as you age, right? You're mitigating that aging process. And I think that's a really hard concept for us, because we don't see what would I look like if I didn't do this training for the last 10 years or 20 years or 30 years or whatever. What would I feel like? How could I move if I hadn't done these things? Well, look around at the people you went to high school with who don't train, the non-Pelotoners, the non-cult members, right? Look what they are looking like, sounding like, acting like. It's very different than the way that we behave. So I think strength is a big piece of it. Mobility is the buzzword these days, right? So that ability to move our body in specific ways and continue, like we talk about it a lot. We'll talk about range of motion and blah, blah, blah. And how many people have had frozen shoulder as they're in their 50s and I was starting to have the beginning of it. I could not lift overhead. I could not put a bar behind my shoulders. And I was like, how is this possible? That 5 years ago, when I was still strength training before the pandemic, I could do this, and now I can't. Well, our body responds to very specific things, and if you don't use it, you lose it. As cliched as that sounds. So, being able to get on and off the floor. There's a great book that just came out. You may have read it. Kelly Starrett. I'm sure you know who Kelly is. He's a physical therapist to the stars. He's buddies with Rebecca Rush, and Tim has been on his podcast. They've done a bunch of stuff back and forth. He and his wife they were early in the CrossFit world, and they owned a gym for a long time. They were both elite level rowers, like whitewater rafting rowers, not like
canoe, like paddlers.
Yeah, not like Alex K, right? So they were paddlers. And they wrote a book 25 years ago called Move Like a Supple Leopard, which that you've probably heard of, right? And the concept was, if you do more movement like animals do, if I crawl, if I jump, if I roll around, if I do that kind of activity, then I'm going to be healthier because I'm moving my body in multiple planes, not just in this linear motion of one sport like cycling or running or swimming, right? And they just turned 50 this year, the two of them. And they wrote another book. It's called Built to Move. And in it, they have, 10, 12 vital signs. What are the things that I should be able to do that indicate I will live forever, basically? Like a deep squat for 90 seconds. Right. And this is all the buzz right now with the longevity crew. What are the things that I should be able to do at this age that indicate that maybe I'm going to live a long, healthy life? So mobility falls into that category, being able to move my body in specific ways. And then balance. I remember when I went to school, you and I were probably studying right around the same time. This was early 2000s. American College of Sports Medicine finally introduced balance as a core component of fitness. It was like it wasn't even thought of before. And we all know what happens when we lose balance, right? We fall.
Yeah, and well,
we break the hip, we die. I'm so dramatic.
Yes. No, no, it's not dramatic. It's, if you look at the research about longevity after breaking a hip as a senior, it's not good.
It's not long, but 6 months.
And the question really comes into, and this is, actually two things about kind of breaking a hip and falling in balance is, what is balance? Is balance my ability to stand on one leg? No, balance is the ability not to fall. That's really what balance is. So walking is balance, and sitting down on a chair is balance, and getting up out of a chair is balance. And that usually goes to strength, right? So I always say is walking is nothing but a controlled fall. That's what it is. I'm getting my center of gravity to move forward outside my base of support, and then I'm strong enough and quick enough to get my next foot down to establish a base of support. to your point, is strength is so important for us because as we age, we start to lose strength and we lose quickness, right? We lose
Mhm.
the ability to fire our muscles off quickly, which means we can't stop the fall,
Right.
right? As we're younger and healthier and stronger, we don't fall because we're strong enough to stop ourselves from falling.
Mhm.
So that's number one, is strength is really
Yeah.
the real key to maintaining balance or to gain balance. And then the other thing of what actually breaks hips a lot of times is what they found out is it's not that somebody falls and breaks their hip. They
Mhm.
fall because their hip
'Cause
broke.
yeah.
And that's bone
Oh,
density.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that they actually have a fracture or a long-term fracture there over because of osteoporosis, and then sooner or later it snaps and breaks, and then they fall, and then they
Mhm.
attribute the fall to their hip breaking, where the fall was actually because their hip broke.
Yeah.
So it's osteoporosis at that point in time. So that strength training really
And
does play
impact.
in an impact and explosive strength training as we age. So like little
Mhm.
kind of jumps off the floor and things like that are important because
Yeah.
it's not that we lose muscle mass necessarily or that we lose strength. We lose the neural receptor for strength.
Right.
So our brain actually just disconnects, like, oh, I'm not using that anymore. So it just disconnects from it.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, so I don't
Yeah.
have the ability to use this anymore unless I start to use it again.
Mhm.
And same thing with range of motion. So when we think about longevity, right? And everyone's like, "Oh, how do I live longer?" I think that's the wrong thought process.
How do I live better now?
Correct. If
Yeah.
I can maintain what I'm doing today, tomorrow,
Mhm.
there's no reason I can't do it tomorrow.
Right.
And tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow, right? That's the always thing is like, think about it. Like, if I'm capable of getting up out of my chair today, there is nothing that's stopping me from getting up out of my chair tomorrow.
Right.
That should be my
But we
expectation.
get
So if I
lazy.
do that for 10 years, then I can still do it in 10 years from now.
Mhm.
But that's the point is we get lazy. We get
And I
burnt
won't even
out.
it's actually maybe not even laziness, it's unintentional. So we're not intentional in our movement. And I noticed one specific thing that I'll use as an example. I have a very steep set of stairs from my apartment down to the street. And I would always sit at the bottom of the stairs and put my shoes on. And that's okay. I could stand up and put my shoes on. That would be better, right? But then I noticed I was using my hands to lift myself up off the stairs and I was like, why are you doing that? You don't need to do that because your hamstrings and your glutes don't want to work. You've created a habit now that is making you less strong and not helping with strength and not helping with balance. You need to stop that. I'm not going to use my hands to get up from the floor, from a chair. I'm going to work on my balance in different ways. And those are very interesting little things that I can do every day is just be thoughtful and intentional and keep that speed up. The other thing
For
I
sure.
see, the mental piece of it, I see the speed of speech changes as we age. And it's amazing. You won't talk to someone in a really long time, and 10 years have gone by and you're like, whoa, they got old. How did that happen? They're speaking really slowly or right? I
Yeah. And
saw it
that's
with my
cognitive. Like,
sister
listen, we
and I saw
we
it
are
with my mother.
our bodies are going to regress. Like, we are
Yeah.
going to decompose slowly in life, right? The idea is
Sorry.
to slow that down as much as we possibly can,
Yeah.
and you know, look at New York, look at old people in New York.
Right. They're still
Like,
walking.
they're walking, they're talking. I had a 97-year-old woman that lived on my floor. She now just finally moved to Chicago to live in a nursing, but by herself in her apartment, 97 years old. She was in the hallway every day, walking back and forth, talked fast, like
Mhm.
she could recall everything. Why? Because it's a daily interaction.
Right.
What she was doing at 97, she was doing at 67. And that's the point. Like, it's when we lose. So this kind of gets back into the lifestyle stuff. It's like, all right, well, why would we stop? Why do we stop
Yeah.
doing these things? Because you get burnout mentally, right? Or
Yeah.
you have an injury or something comes up to where it's like, I can't work out for a month, and that's hard to get back into it
It
again.
is.
And I think that's where these challenges are so important, and why I don't like to see big breaks 4 weeks in between and stuff like
Right.
that. It's because the idea is we want you to keep doing this. We want to make it as easy as possible. I don't
Mhm.
like, how many of us sit down to watch TV at night, turn on Netflix, and it takes me 30 minutes to find a freaking show to watch. And then I
That's what
got
it's like
20 minutes
taking a
to watch the
Peloton
show.
class.
Same thing, right? You get a Peloton, there's 5,000 workouts I could do. You're just like, man,
Yeah.
like, I don't know what one to do. And then you hit one, you're like, I don't like that one. And you try to change to another one. Next thing you know,
But
your
there might be a
time's
better
over.
one. Yeah.
There's always a better one. Like I always say, there's always a better workout you could do today, but there's never a bad workout you can do today, ever.
Right.
I've never seen somebody do a bad workout. Doesn't happen. Was it the best appropriate workout? No, but it was still better than you sitting on your couch.
Mhm.
And that's, I think, the mental strain has to be removed and the mental pressure needs to be removed from
Right.
people. And I think that's where training also comes in hard for us is like you said, a month out from your event, like mentally you're fried because there's
Yeah.
so much external pressure you're putting on yourself on performance that you're just like, I can't do this anymore. I don't
Mhm.
want to do this anymore. And I think when we get to those points, we need to step back and
Yeah.
just be like, okay,
Let's go play.
yes. And, health is more than just one thing. It's more than
Yes.
just cardiovascular or strength. It's emotional health, it's nutritional health, it's all these things. And that can be so overwhelming for people.
Mhm.
How am I supposed to be mindful and eat well and work out and get enough sleep and also take care of my body with
Right.
massages and roll? Like, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
So you know what? Do one.
Yeah.
Most of the people here and listening to this, listen, you probably got your fitness routine down pat, right?
They
You're
make it
following a
to the
program,
podcast every week. It's like,
right?
"Hello." Yeah.
Or if you're just even signed up for this thing, like you've created a good habit there. Awesome. What's the next habit you're going to improve? Right? If it's nutrition, awesome. Don't try to fix your whole nutrition in one day. Just fix your breakfast.
Yeah.
Pick one meal and be like, you know what? I'm going to clean up my breakfast and just make it a little bit healthier than it was before. Right? It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be healthier in your view, whatever that is, than before. And then do that for a month. That now becomes your new breakfast and your new routine. Then you can handle lunch. Fix your lunch. Give it a month. And then dinner's always hard because of families, right? And everyone has different eating preferences and stuff. But it's like then fix snacking. And after 6 months, hey, your nutrition is actually now pretty good and
Except
sustainable.
I'm still eating the same meal every breakfast for 6 months, and then I get sick of it. So, anyways,
But that's
that's my
fine.
issue. And
If
then
you
I
have
find a new one.
you find a new one and you do that. Like my wife jokes every morning I wake up and I have my bread and peanut butter, like my
Yeah.
toasted peanut butter. She's like, "You're 90." I'm like, "Yeah, I am."
Or 9.
Whatever. I'm like,
That's what I had when I
it's
was a kid.
yeah, it's the same thing every morning with my coffee,
Mhm.
whatever. It's okay. I eat a variety of plants and foods and stuff throughout the day and throughout the week. This can be my consistent, but my mornings are
Breakfast.
the same. I wake
Yeah.
up, I eat, I drink, and then I do my workout. So I'm like, this is serving me.
Yeah.
Um, so
That's
I
good.
think it's just life, healthy lifestyle is just overwhelming. That's the
It is.
hard part. And social media and stuff doesn't help, of course, because it seems like everybody's doing everything else. And they're like, oh, I should be doing that, 10-minute meditation along with my 10 minutes of yoga every day, along
Right.
with this. And now are my products clean as well? And you're just like, Jesus fucking, like, what am I going to do here? I know it's
You're
not
getting
sensitive.
fired.
Whatever. I'm not
Don't
getting
tell me
tired. I'm
that.
getting fired up because it drives me
I know.
nuts that
Yeah.
if you just go back 20 years ago, being healthy and living a healthy lifestyle was so much easier
Mhm.
because the problem also is like I look at especially like my in-laws who are in their 80s, they don't even understand what is a healthy choice
Right.
because the package is telling them it's healthy. And I'm like, it's not.
First of all, if it
And
came in a package, it's probably not.
yes,
Yeah.
but for them, they're like, of course, like it's healthy. It says this. And the educational aspect is so hard, especially when we're inundated on social media with so-called experts telling us something.
Mhm.
My general rule, and that's what I tell them all the time, is if that expert has a
Selling something.
product to sell, they're not an expert.
Yeah.
I don't care if they says doctor in their name or scientist in their name. If they have a product to sell, they're not an expert. They're a salesperson. If it's a doctor who has no product to sell and they're giving you their opinion about something, I'm probably going to listen. It doesn't mean I'm going to blindly believe them, but I'm going to listen to what they say because they have no benefit to tell me this other than that they care about me.
Right.
right? Man, it is difficult. I feel bad for everybody. I studied this stuff for the last, 30 plus years, and I still struggle.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it's like to not have the educational background and
And
to
have
try
to
to,
make those choices.
yeah,
Yeah.
standing in the
It's
store like,
interesting.
oh,
I had
break
one
the
more
case.
bullet point when I was thinking about lifestyle, all of the things that we benefit from training and exercise in general. The mental health piece, I think, is super important. And you touched on that. It's hard. We are influenced by social media so much. But tell me you ever have a bad day after you finish your workout. It's like you can't. You get that
No.
dopamine hit and you're like, man, I feel great. I can conquer the world, at least for a few hours. And then you go back into your sullen state. But
Prime example
yeah,
is this morning. I woke up, I was walking downstairs to go ride the bike, and I was like, you know what? I have time this afternoon. I could ride.
yeah, I make that mistake.
And I didn't. I went downstairs and I rode because
Good.
when I was standing on the staircase, I was like, you know what? I'm a better person all day long when I get my workout done in the morning.
Hmm.
It was just a logical, like, I was like, no, you got the time now. Yes, maybe I was a little rushed. I was like, I wouldn't feel as rushed doing it later, but you have the time.
Right.
Do it. Your rest of your day is going to be better.
Yeah.
You never regret a workout you do. You only regret a workout you didn't do.
Right.
You're right. And I think that is one of the things is even with Strava and everything, and even with Peloton, with the leaderboard or your personal records of how many kilojoules did you do and stuff like that. Like every day can't be a PR.
No.
Like it can't be. That's just not how the body works. And when we compare ourselves constantly, even to ourselves, it's not good. It's not
Right.
good. Like, what's your win? My win is I got on a freaking bike today and I pedaled, and maybe I got off
Woo-hoo.
early. Who cares? Or maybe my legs didn't feel as good as they did last week. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right? Like it's so, man, it's so hard.
I
So hard.
resisted Strava for years. I was a beta tester for them. And then I left. I was like, I don't want this. And it was the comparison piece that was really hard and the segments. And I felt like it was because everyone was seeing what you were doing. I think I felt it led to us doing workouts that didn't make sense. I'm going to go hard here because I want this QOM. But that's not what my workout told me to do. And I finally went back because I do think there are some important things about Strava. And I do like just one place to keep track of everything. My bikes and all that stuff.
I love it. I love looking at it. I got in the habit years ago, which I got out of the habit of doing, but years ago, I started going in with my clients. And when I saw them do like a recovery run, like a slow run or something, I would comment like, awesome job. Did exactly what we were looking to do. You kept the pace low and easy. Like just those little kind of comments. So it's kind of justifies what they did.
Right.
Because I would find myself running and be like, oh, I should pick it up a little bit. Like people are going to see this pace and it's a little slow. Right. Like I don't want to be judged.
Or you separate out your warm up from your actual workout from because it affects your pace. And I'm like, whatever. You have to put recovery in the title though.
Like the question kind of comes down is like, do you want to win social media or do you want to win life?
Yeah.
Right. Like I say that from a racing perspective to a lot of my clients. I'm like, listen, you can choose to win Strava or you can win the race on race day.
And that's what I always feel like. It's like, okay, look at my race results. It's not necessarily about this workout that I went out and did. And people are like, oh, you got a QOM. I'm like, whatever. I didn't even know there was a segment there. It just happened to come at the right moment, But
well, power zone classes, if you're doing the class appropriately, I should not be on the top of the leaderboard.
Right.
My FTP is not as high as somebody else's.
Yeah.
So if we're doing the workout exactly how it's prescribed, then I should not be up there. I should be where I should be with the other, 260 FTP people, whatever it is. Like we should all be together if we did it correctly. If somebody who has a lower FTP than me is up above me on the leaderboard, well, they just didn't do the workout appropriately.
Or their bike is used. No.
Or their bike is used, but whatever.
Well, and it's always a constant struggle for individuals, especially smaller individuals, because we know power to weight ratio is in the real world outside. That's what matters. On the leaderboard, it's just power. So weight is not a context of, or not a component of that.
Correct.
And, you can have an individual who's 250 pounds, and of course they're going to push more power than somebody who's 100 or 120 pounds. So there's no question. And it's always frustrating because the smaller riders will always be like, but I know I'm fit, but I'm always at the bottom. And I'm like, well, that's part of it's your size.
Mhm.
So
Well,
yeah,
that's why it's not a bad idea to filter that leaderboard.
yeah, I know.
Filter it down. I mean, I think it's a smart move because you're now actually, if you're going to have comparisons up there, let's actually compare
Yeah,
appropriately, right?
yeah,
Who lines up with me that I should compare myself against? I should be
right.
comparing myself against my mother. Like,
Well,
I
I
mean,
always
she's
know
pretty
when some
fit, but like I'm
80-year-old
gonna crush
woman
her.
passes me that her grandson's riding it. So that's what I
Totally.
know. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, what are the other things that lead to a healthy lifestyle? And I think we touched on all these a little bit, and we've talked about them at different times, but sleep and the quality of our sleep, the quantity of our sleep, our nutrition, so supporting our
Nutrition.
lifestyle, our training, our recovery, all of that. And stress mitigation. Stress is a big one. I feel, well, you know me. Brian knows how stressed I am. I know I put on this pretty face, but I'm always like, "Oh my god, the world is ending." Right? Always.
It's very true.
I
It's
know.
very true.
And, maybe I'm not gonna live as long as everyone else because I feel like but I know that exercise helps mitigate my stress, and that's an important aspect of it as well, and I think we forget that. When I exercise hormonally, my body is happier, and then I don't feel as much stress, and I also feel like I've accomplished something, and that sense of accomplishment, I think, keeps us feeling good about life, so all of
Yeah,
those
I
things are
think
good.
I think we just have to realize like fitness, living a healthy lifestyle or living healthier longer, we should really say, because I don't want to just live long. I want to live long healthily. Like I'd rather
Mhm.
live a healthy 80 years than
Oh,
a
yeah,
crappy 100 years. Like let's just
exactly.
face that. Like
I
I
don't
think we
wanna go
all
to
would sign
100.
up for that. No. I mean I do if I'm still crushing it out there on the bike and maybe I'll be on an e-bike at that time, but whatever. Like if I'm still enjoying it and cognitively there and physically there, then like yeah,
Mhm.
I'll lift to 200. I'll take it. But I think it's just there's so many factors, like we said, nutrition, mental health, physical health, cardiovascular health, neurological health,
Environment, where you live.
like the area in
Are
which you
you
live.
isolated? Are you surrounded by people? Are
But
you
what I can
living next to a lithium-ion battery plant that
what I
just
can say
exploded?
is, you know, you can't fix all of them at the same time.
Right.
And the key here is follow a plan. Most of these things take a long time to see the benefit. I saw somebody
Mhm.
looked in there that they went vegan. I went plant-based years ago. I did not feel good the first couple months as my body adjusted. Here I am
Mhm.
4 years later, plant-based, and I feel fantastic. And my
Yeah.
my cholesterol I had high cholesterol in 5th grade. Like, literally, the doctor was like, "Your cholesterol is too high. You gotta go on a diet."
I didn't even
My
know they
body
tested you in 5th grade for stuff like that.
my body was having some other issues, so the blood work was being done.
Ah,
And and again, as in in college, tested high cholesterol. Again, just did my life insurance again a little while ago. My LDL's a little on the high side, lower than it used to be in the past. And I'm plant based. My
yeah.
body produces certain things. So like for me, yeah, I am healthier now because of that choice. Now, is that the same
Right.
for you and the same for somebody else? No. I'm like, that's I think everybody is different in that way, but we have to give our bodies time to adjust to the things we do.
Mhm.
And I think also with social media is, it's almost like fast fashion. It's like, all
Yeah.
right, I'm going to focus on my nutrition. And then something else comes out there where it's like, oh, we really got to focus on mental health. And then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, let's start focusing on that. And then we lose track of this one over here without creating this new habit. And that falls apart. And then
So
we
how do
go
you
to
eat
this
an
one and
elephant,
it falls
Brian?
apart. I don't
Yeah.
because I'm vegetarian.
Oh, yeah. Well, I
Um,
do one bite at a time, right? So, um,
um,
yeah, it's interesting. So I'm sober, 13 years sober, just recently, and I have supported a lot of folks in their sobriety. And one of the questions we always get, especially at this time of year, because people are doing things like dry January or whatever, they don't feel better right away. And as sober individuals, we're always saying, oh, but you're going to feel better. Your skin will be better. You won't go gray. Your life is going to be great. No, your body's detoxing. Your body has had so much sugar and alcohol and bad things, and it changes your mental reactions to things. And a lot of times you feel worse for a while. Your skin breaks out. Your body's craving sugar because it had all those sugars from the alcohol. And same thing, you gotta wait. Your body's gonna adjust. Yes, you've been
But the
eating
key is
crap your whole life.
staying on the path.
Yeah,
Staying on the path is the important part. And
right.
I've
Change
never,
takes time.
yes, and sobriety is one of the hardest things to do, I think,
Yeah,
right? Like you can't be concerned about these other aspects until you
right.
get that under control. And I
Yeah,
think that's the same thing. It's like we all have to approach this the same way. We all have addicted personalities into something in some way. And you just gotta pick one thing, change one thing at a time, and don't start focusing on another thing until
mhm,
that one thing is now your lifestyle and your habit.
right.
That's
Then
the
it's
key,
easy.
right? Because yes, it's just part of my life. This
You're
is
an hour or a year out and you're like, "Ooh, the thought of alcohol sounds terrible."
yes. The problem is we want everything to happen at once,
Right.
and we can't. We just gotta. It's stay the course. Just stay
Yeah,
the course. There's not a better way or a worse way. I remember this with like you know getting my kid to fall asleep as a baby, right? You have the no cry solution, you have the fervor solution, you have the cry it out solution, like all these solutions. And like I looked at my wife one day because she was bouncing back and forth. I was like, listen, let's just pick one.
yeah,
Whatever one we pick is going to be correct, and the one we pick is also going to be wrong. I guarantee you. Like we're going
yeah,
to find out in 10 years that the way we did it wasn't the right way, but right now it's the right way. So let's just pick it. Let's stick with it. And if it takes a week, whatever, we're just going to suffer through this. And this is the new way. And every plan works as long as you follow the plan. Give it
yeah,
time. And I think that's the hardest thing is like we just get pulled in so many directions because our friends are doing something else. Like how many times have you gotten to a race and your friend's like, oh wait, you were doing what for
yeah,
training? I've been doing this. And you're like, well, maybe I should have been doing
yeah,
that. I don't know. Maybe you should have, but you did what you did. Let's commit to it, stick to it, and then change to something else.
yeah. So
So
all
hard.
this to say we've been thinking a lot about, what are we doing in our training with Team Wilpers and how can we promote healthy lifestyle as well as training for a specific sport? And so kind of rethinking some stuff for the upcoming year. So we'll have some more news on that soon. But I'm just looking through the comments. First of all, I want to say hi to everyone, Maggie and Amy and Mike and Donna and Val. When is the Army 10 mile? Good for you. Um, and another full marathon. That's a lot of work. I was having that conversation with someone yesterday. It's a lot of marathons are hard. Um,
Yeah.
Mike trains to stay healthy. Yes, thank you. Me too. And not for any competitions. He likes the feeling of training. I do too. I like to suffer. And I don't say that in a negative way. I like to work my body and see what it can do, I should say, right? Challenge it. Um, Big race, all eggs in one basket. Yeah. So Val says same thing. And it's very true. In bike racing, you race a lot. You might race
Mhm.
6 times a month, Saturdays, Sundays. You might have a weeknight race, whatever. And in triathlon, probably because they cost like
So hard.
$1,500 and you have to train so much, you might have one big race for the year. And that's on
Gravel's
point.
that way
Yeah.
nowadays, right? Like
Oh my
it's
gosh. Yeah.
one or two big gravel events a year, like
And you're
marathons,
traveling.
same kind of thing. You're traveling,
Yeah.
like it's hard. It's hard. Those, I love them.
Yeah.
It keeps me honest and keeps me training.
It does, and it's fun.
Um,
And then I have to say for me, I'm very motivated by a goal in an event, and so
Me
I
too.
will train specifically because of that. But I am starting to think more about can I train more for life? And I'm not sure what that means for me yet. But Maggie, I know Maggie's always up at 3 a.m. She trains for her healthy lifestyle, and she does have a healthy lifestyle. Although it brings up a good point when, and this is not directed at you, Maggie, but when does healthy go into unhealthy, right? The extreme of we have to pay attention to that.
Oh, I
Um,
I consider myself when it comes to sports and physical activity unhealthy.
yeah, it
Like
can be,
it's not the healthiest way. Like I would
right?
make different decisions if I wasn't racing the way in which I want to race.
Yeah,
But then you balance that with mental.
Yeah.
right? My mental health, I feel better when I'm racing in these kind of things and achieving certain goals and
Mhm.
working towards certain goals. So again, it's, you know, think of these as all points on the star. It's just a matter of which ones are you pulling at.
Mhm.
Don't ignore any of them, but again, it's different for everybody, and I think that's the
Yeah.
hard part.
Mike says, he likes what Matt says about training for seasons instead of training for events. I always think of Matt as kind of the perma-fit. He
Mhm.
can do anything. I've seen videos of him where he'll jump on a slack line and walk it, or, his nieces and nephews have what are they called? The twitchy boards where it's like a skateboard, but it's in 2
Mhm.
pieces.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't do
yeah.
them. My kid had one. Yeah, and he just jumps on and does those and, jumps out of airplanes and skis or surfs or does whatever, and it's like, isn't it amazing to have that level of fitness where you can do the things you wanna do, have fun doing them, and I've heard Matt say that as well. We
It's
train
actually
so we can have fun doing the things that we wanna do.
and don't yeah, it doesn't have to be actual fit to do those things.
Right.
It's confidence to do those things,
That's
right?
true,
It's the
right?
it's the
And I would go
confidence
back
of
to strength, mobility, balance, all of those
yeah.
plays into the confidence.
Yes, and
So
exposure and trying new things. Like, that was one of the things with my girls who are now high schoolers. Like, I got them riding early, we got them swimming and running and, like, doing all these different things, and everyone's like, "Oh, should they play a sport?" I'm like, "That's not my concern. My concern is when they're in college. If
mhm,
someone's like, 'Hey, let's go kayaking.'" I want my girls to be able to be like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?
yeah,
Hey, let's go hiking. Yeah, sure. Why not? Hey, let's go skiing. Yeah, sure. Why not? I've never done it
right,
before, but I'll give it a try." Like,
yeah,
that's the mentality I want. That's what I see that Matt does have. Like, Matt is
mhm,
doing everything. Yes, he's very good at certain things like running, and for a prime example, but he's not scared to do these other things as
right,
well. And
right.
that's to me
And I think
longevity and
I'll
health.
use an interesting example of myself. I ride bikes and I run, and so I'm moving my legs like this all the time,
Mhm.
one at a time, and I found myself afraid to jump. Go figure. Right? Afraid to use my legs and jump onto something and like a box or even just
Yeah.
jump at all. Like the brain wouldn't connect with that part of my body to move together. And it's like, how can that be? You can do all these athletic things and you can't jump onto a curb. You
Right.
can't jump onto a box. You can't jump off a box or off a rock or whatever. And I was like, wow, this is real maladaption here. I've limited myself because I was only doing these things and my brain wouldn't work in that direction. So learning to do lateral, learning to do diagonal, learning to use your legs together instead of separately. All of those are important. So Amy keeps deleting her comments. Hi, Michael. Good morning. Hi, Linda and Raquel and lack of motivation. Oh, yeah, that's why people get old. Raquel is 83. She is not lacking motivation. But Raquel's athletic life has changed a lot, right? She used to race and run, and she's run up Haleakala and done all these cool things like Road to Hana. And I'm guessing you're not doing the events anymore, Raquel, but you're still training at 83 because you like to move your body and it keeps you young. So, um, gradual things, changing it up. Mindfulness is really important. There we go. Amy, thank you for leaving one of your comments up because you always have really good comments. Yeah, activity throughout the day. I think that's important too. We often think about exercises as block, like you said, this is what you do in the morning and it starts
Mhm.
your day. But I like to think about I take a post lunch walk. 10 minutes. That's all I do. And I just saw an article this week that said all you really need to do for your body and your metabolism and your digestion is 2 minutes. I was like, wow, 2 minute walk. That's like down the stairs and back up again. So it doesn't take a lot. Or swing a kettlebell in the middle of the day or pull out a resistance band and do some work. It doesn't all have to be one big block of exercise. And that can be daunting for people. You're like, oh, I want to do my ride and my stretch and now all of a
Yep.
sudden now it's an hour or 2 hours or whatever. And so splitting it all up.
Spread
Yeah.
it out.
Yes. See, Raquel, she started at 38, which is kind of late, Raquel, but you had a great career. And I have no idea what that means. A lot of comments here. Raquel's telling us you can raise your cholesterol with super high HDL. Whoops. La 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 la. Joanne Clark. Hi, Joanne. Thank you for visiting. We enjoy this conversation too. Sometimes we like to talk about different things that we don't usually talk about. We decided this would be the day. So, um, anything else about lifestyle, Brian, or training for lifestyle?
I
What would our
think
conclusion be?
the conclusion is lifestyle is independent to the person, and you have to choose what's important to you, not
Mhm.
what's important to everybody else or somebody else. And affect the things, affect the thing, pick the one thing you want to affect and just focus on it. Just
Right.
affect that one thing. Don't even look at the other things until that new thing is a habit and taken care of. And it's to the point where you're happy with it. This is where I am. Now, it might not be perfect, but it's better
Mhm.
than it was. I can come back to it later, but I feel like this is set. I feel like I'm in this new way. Maybe it's not sobriety. Maybe it's only having 2 drinks a week, right? Like, and you're there. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Like, once you're to where you want to be, then go ahead and change something else. And then you can always revisit that, a year later after you've fixed it. But yeah, that would be my takeaway.
I would say diversity. I think diversifying is really important. And when we specialize, like I said, we get really good at that one thing and not good at other things to the detriment of other things, like
Mhm.
being able to jump. And I would also say, so I have two, you don't have to be perfect at any of them. Nothing is perfect. It's okay to play. It's okay to experiment. It's okay to do something and know that I will never bend like Hannah Corbin. And none of you will, by the way. I'm just going to say it. Woman is crazy hypermobility and she's super flexible too. And yes, and that is something to aspire to, but you may never look like Hannah.
Or not.
Yeah, I
Again, you can
know.
be too flexible. You can be too
Exactly.
bendy, right?
So, yeah. So
Flexibility
it's
comes
okay
with
not to be
instability.
perfect and nobody is watching you. That's the cool thing about at-home fitness. You can trip all over your floor doing a cardio dance class and nobody knows. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So
Or
diversify.
we got to find that video of Matt doing the dance class. We got to post that up. That was amazing.
Someone will post it up before we've thought of it, right? I know.
Yeah,
It's
it's
been
so
around
good.
Facebook for a while, but yeah, always have fun. I agree. If it's not fun, fake it for a while because sometimes when you fake it, it becomes fun. But seriously, if exercise or the modality that you are doing is not fun for you, find something else to do, whether it's in the exercise world or outside the exercise world. There's lots of things we can choose to do with our time, and I would say choose the fun things. If it's torture to you, then it's not going to be sustainable anyways. It's going to make you unhappy. It doesn't help your mental health.
Well, you're gonna take the first excuse you can find to not
Yeah,
do it.
yeah,
If it's inconvenient or not fun, then you're gonna find an excuse not to do it,
yeah.
right? So
So,
just low hanging fruit, man. Don't make life harder on yourself.
agree.
Like,
There's our life advice. Life advice with Brian and Lori. Anyways, going into week 6. So week 5, wake up. We're back to intensity. You guys had your break and now we're going on. Week 6, we're going to just keep building. So Monday's rest day. Tuesday, Sam. We're going to ride with Sam. 45-minute power zone. And Wednesday, we've got 45 minutes with Christine, a nice endurance ride. And then Thursday, we're with Hannah Frankson, 45-minute power zone. So 2 really quality workouts this week, Tuesday, Thursday. Friday, take your rest. I know some of you guys have been doing a coffee ride, which I think is really fun. Brian, they've been doing coffee rides.
that's
They're
awesome.
posting, they're drinking coffee, and they're doing an easy ride, which is great.
Love that.
Keep it easy if you're going easy, right? That's what we're learning. Easy means easy. Saturday, we've got a big one with Matt. So not tomorrow, but next week, 75-minute power zone endurance. Can always do something a little. We got to find that video now. Brian, that's your job. You brought it up. You can find it. I remember when I first started working for Matt and somebody posted that on some
Yeah.
page on Facebook.
I'll,
So
I'll look. I'll see if I
it's
can find
probably
it.
on YouTube, I'm sure of it. But yeah. Anyways, Saturday sub if you need to. You want to go longer, go longer. You want to go shorter, go shorter. That's all good. But I would say keep it easy. Endurance is our style for Saturdays. And then also Sunday. So we'll be with Dennis 45 minutes on a power zone endurance ride. And keep chatting in the chats. It's always fun. Sometimes I have a hard time keeping up. You guys are so chatty, and sometimes you're very quiet. So keep talking to each other and planning your social rides and training together. So hashtag Team Wilpers Cycling. Any final words, Brian?
No, because if I start talking, it's going to be like 10 more minutes.
I know, we know that about him. Mike, of course you can ride with Matt. If you want to ride live, feel free to ride live. Live rides are always awesome. So we may put some of those back into the calendar for the upcoming Manish. How to join Team Wilpers? Go to teamwilpers.com or Domestiq, challenge.domestiq.net. A lot of our communication is on Facebook. So if you're not in our Facebook group, go ahead and join. And everybody wants to be a coach like Brian. Says, I want to become a coach like you, sir. Brian's a great coach. So yeah. Anyways, I know. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you for joining us live, and we'll see you on the leaderboard.